The session is now being recorded. Thanks, everyone. And welcome once again to this first in a series of webinars over the lunchtime to continue our conversation around the IICRD Child Thrive initiative. Let's get a sense of who's out there in cyberspace with us today. We've had a couple of people chatting on the line before I hit record, but perhaps we could go round. Philip and Michelle, why don't we start with you, if you don't mind? I think everyone knows you, of course, but just a brief hello and a brief introduction.
Sure, thanks, Catherine. Actually, I don't think I do know everyone, so I'm really pleased to meet some of our colleagues for the first time. My name is Philip Cook. I'm the founder and the current executive director of the International Institute for Child Rights and Development. I'm also an adjunct professor at Royal Roads University in the School of Leadership Studies, which is, I had the great pleasure of coming to know Catherine and working with her and other colleagues there, and I'm teaching and supervising students in the doctorate in social sciences. It's a pleasure to be on the call today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Philip. And Michelle.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Cook, and I'm the capacity director at the Institute, and very excited to be part of this conversation and to see all of these great conversations that Catherine has set up. So looking forward to learning from all of you and hearing some new thinking.
That's great, Michelle. Thank you very much. And why don't we just kind of go around? You know, I'm learning how to use how to use this. So what I'll do is just the order in which people appear on my screen. I'll invite you to just say a few quick words. Derek, we've heard a little bit about your work, but maybe for the people who just logged in, a brief hello from you, Derek.
Hi, folks. This is Derek Peterson, and I'm an associate with IICRD and have been since 2007.
Wonderful. Thanks, Derek. And Kathy, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kathy Sturgeon, and I guess for the purpose of this group, I'm a little bit of an outsider, but I'm currently enrolled at the Masters of Leadership at Royal Roads University. I had the privilege of being part of the Doing Good for Nothing session with on Child Thrive with your amazing organization. So I'm interested in seeing where and how I can help and how all of this will evolve, and passionate about social innovation and social enterprise, so I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
Wonderful, Kathy. Thank you very much for joining us. And perhaps Kim Hole first, and then we'll go to the second Kim. We have two Kims on the line. Go ahead.
My name is Kim Hall. I've just returned after 15 years in the United States, back home on the Vancouver Island. While I was down in the States, I was facilitating a variety of programs, all that focus on leading social change initiatives and working with schools and school districts, communities, nonprofits, and I'm very happy to be back. And my first experience with Doing Good for Nothing as well. It was a wonderful experience.
That's great, Kim. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Walker. I am current.
Yep, go ahead, Kim. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Walker. I am currently the president of the OCA, Oakland's Community Association, and I'm an independent consultant in community development with background in community economic development and environmental management. And I also had attended the Good for Nothing webinar, or seminar, sorry, and found it really interesting. And so here I am.
Thanks very much, Kim, both Kims. That's wonderful, and I apologize. There seems to be just a slight delay, and I apologize for interrupting you there. Simon, why don't we just hear a few brief words from you? And it looks like one more person has also joined. I'm wondering if that might be Kevin, but oh, Simon has no microphone. Okay, let's just see here. Sorry, just learning my technology here. Hello, no mic, sorry. I was part of the Doing Good for Nothing session. I'm also starting up my own nonprofit that will organize citizens' assemblies in communities around BC on topics selected by citizens. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Simon. This is great, the kind of momentum that the Doing Good for Nothing event has created. So it's wonderful that you're all here. And the last person to log in, was that Kevin by chance, or is there someone else out there? We're just doing a brief round of introductions here. Maybe not. I have someone coming up as an HTML user. Okay. All right. Well, if there's someone else out there who would like to say hello, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, I am delighted now to introduce Rob Middleman. Rob, you can certainly say a few words about yourself in your own words, but let me just say that Rob is a colleague of mine, an assistant professor of entrepreneurship at Royal Roads University, where I also work. And Rob's work focuses specifically on social entrepreneurship and enterprising nonprofits. He's worked around the world and has an MBA from the University of Oxford. And he's currently working to complete his doctoral dissertation in management from Carleton University. Rob has a lot of experience from many different parts of the world. And so, Rob, we're just delighted that you're here with us today. And please go ahead and say, in your own words, feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure, and I always get excited to talk about social entrepreneurship. Like Catherine said, I'm a professor of entrepreneurship here, and we currently don't offer any courses in social entrepreneurship. So what I get to do is sprinkle a social conscience throughout all of our entrepreneurship classes and really push our students to think about the impact that business can have on society. I've been an entrepreneur, a straight for-profit entrepreneur for many years, and I've started a number of my own social enterprises. I think I'll tell you about one at the end of today's session, as there might be a really nice partnership between us. So I'm excited to talk through some of your ideas, and I really want to hear how the Doing Good for Nothing weekend went, and maybe someone could begin by summarizing either if you came out of it with one social enterprise idea or a number of them, and then we can focus our discussion around that.
That's great. Thank you, Rob. And perhaps, Philip, I'll just hand it to you if you wouldn't mind sharing a few of the outcomes from the Doing Good for Nothing event.
Sure. Thanks, Catherine. And Catherine, actually, I wanted to formally thank you for launching this series. We're very appreciative that you provided a container for these kinds of rich discussions. It's certainly very opportune for us and great that we can bring in people like Rob and others who are doing similar work. So thank you, Catherine, for being the impetus behind this. Yeah, just quickly, because it looks like actually there's a number of people who were at the Do Good for Nothing event, but for those who weren't, to back up a little bit, IICRD is at its heart a hybrid organization. So we're formerly a non-governmental organization incorporated under the Federal NGO Act, and we have always had part of our identity rooted in academic culture. Initially at the University of Victoria, where I was a professor in the School of Child and Youth Care, a little later in the School of Global Studies, and more recently as part of a formal partnership with Royal Roads University, primarily through the School of Leadership Studies. But we have also worked with for-profit organizations and have had an interest in entrepreneurial approaches to working with children and youth, and particularly vulnerable children and youth in their communities, and bringing a community development perspective to that work. A number of years ago, probably about 2 years ago, we decided more formally to explore opportunities for creating a social enterprise in relation to IICRD, connected with IICRD, and unfortunately Elena is not on the call, but one of our team, Elena Mack, spearheaded that initiative and has created an entity called Child Thrive. Child Thrive is focused on creating healthy opportunities for children and their families to thrive, and to really bring together the for-profit and the non-for-profit worlds in relation to that focus, and to draw on both the rich experience of IICRD as an organization with approximately 25 years of experience. Our broad base of partnerships would include our associates, people like Derek, organizations from the highest levels of the UN, work with agencies like UNICEF, large NGOs working with children, governments, all the way down to very small organizations working at the community level, and to see if we could bring this to bear, particularly given the current climate in the world today, where there are more opportunities for these for-profit NGOs, to see if we could bridge that gap. We were approached about a year ago by an organization in Victoria called Do Good for Nothing, which is led by Lee Sentes and colleagues, to ask if we would like to submit an application for an offer that Do Good for Nothing has put out, which is basically where they coach you over a one-year period and offer themselves as an incubator to help shape ideas on an agency developing a social enterprise. And we were very fortunate to be chosen through that competitive process as the Do Good for Nothing project for this year, which culminated in the meeting that Catherine was speaking about and a number of you were present at last weekend, which brought together 3 value propositions that IICRD is contemplating right now in terms of social enterprises, all under this heading of Child Thrive. And I'll quickly mention that we can talk about the outcomes and then we can move on, because I don't want to take up too much time. But in essence, the 3 value propositions that we're thinking about right now are, first of all, to create a hub for child-centered activities in the city of Victoria. It's interesting that IICRD has been housed in Victoria for the past 25 years, but we don't really have an active presence. A lot of our work is either elsewhere in the province in relation to our First Nations work, other parts of Canada, where we've been leading municipal youth engagement activities, or globally, where we engage in a lot of our child protection work supporting very vulnerable kids in their communities. And so it was an opportunity for us to explore ways that we could work with the City of Victoria. And the value proposition is specific to engaging with a local actor. We haven't chosen that partner yet. There's a number of possibilities, but to actually co-locate in a center that would allow us to offer some of our expertise in working with kids with an agency that's providing direct services, potentially something like a daycare center, a youth hub, or a family-based center, and to work with the City of Victoria to get that going and to provide opportunities for sharing expertise, but also provide a for-profit venue. Some of the resources coming back to our own projects, and other resources going to additional activities in Victoria supporting children thriving. The second value proposition is what we're calling development with purpose. Very different. It's a collaboration with a lifestyle development company that's actually a Swiss company called Storm Mountain, which has 5 properties that it will develop in British Columbia. They've asked us to join them in developing the first of those properties, which is located on Bowen Island, and had been designed as a lifestyle property, so particularly connected with a very beautiful part of the coast, allowing people to combine healthy lifestyle with connection with the natural environment, and some social focus in terms of some social housing that had been set aside for children with disabilities. We've been working with Storm Mountain to broaden that lens to be more inclusive of this concept of children and families thriving at the center of those properties, and to really link 3 pillars of activities around a for-profit NGO dimension to the work. One of which would just be the design of the properties that would be very focused on human thriving, so connection with the natural environment, putting family activities at the center of people's lifestyles. So even though you own your home, there would be communal eating spaces, for example, community gardens, places for creative expression, a local cafe where some of this would come together. Also to look at educational opportunities, and this might tie with some of the Royal Road relationships with continuing studies, for example, where there would be guest speakers coming to the site. There might be small conferences related to children, youth, family development activities, and other intellectually enriching opportunities for people to engage in. And the final dimension of the Child Thrive Property for Development would be a direct link with a community in the Global South, and we're thinking of a potential partner right now in either Africa, Tanzania in this case, or Colombia in Latin America, where we have partner communities where we're working, where some of the profits from the property would go directly to supporting children thriving in one or perhaps both of those communities. And people living on the property or others, if they were interested, could visit that project site and see what's going on there, perhaps participate in some of the activities. That's yet to be fleshed out. And the third value proposition is to create a more structured accreditation process for businesses initially in the Victoria area and potentially outside to be recognized as a Child Thrive agency based on their support internally in their human resource policies to their staff, to support them in relation to their families and their children, and also in regards to their external activities in terms of work that they might be doing in community or the impact of their business on the community, and creating a framework in which we could help them have a more positive impact, particularly on children, but on families more broadly, and building an endorsement system around that. So we have been helped by Do Good for Nothing to further clarify a business model, platform for each of these endeavors, and we're going to be bringing these ideas back to the board in a couple of weeks and discussing whether we take one or a number of these ideas forward in the year to come.
Wow.
Catherine, I think
thank you very much, Phil. That was a really detailed description. Sounds like you've got some exciting ideas. Is that my computer that's creating that feedback?
Yeah, I'm hearing the feedback too, so I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from, but perhaps a tip for all of us is we can put our microphones on mute, and we'll just leave it to you, Rob, to speak at this point, and the rest of us, if we can find the microphone icon and click on it, it should put ourselves on mute, and hopefully that'll reduce the background noise.
That sounds great. So I'm excited to hear all of the ideas. I'm on a nonprofit board myself, and I know the challenge it is to move from that nonprofit mentality to start thinking about what it is to launch an enterprise, to start generating revenue, to say, I'm not interested in being solely funded by grants or waiting for donations to come in. So I have a number of questions that I would ask. Yeah, everyone is muted right now. Oh, there we go, except for me. So I think we're good now. I have a number of questions I would ask anyone when they're starting this process, particularly when coming from an NGO or a nonprofit, a charity base. I would say, is starting this for-profit social enterprise really going to help with the mission you set out to accomplish? Not all social enterprises have to be mission aligned with the causes they support. So I would ask, what's the purpose of creating a social venture in the first place? Like any other venture, you need to ask yourself what the objective is. Are you strictly trying to diversify fundraising for IICRD, or are you trying to accomplish something through the venture itself? The three ideas you proposed each do something very different, either towards your mission or in terms of profitability, in terms of scope, in terms of complexity. So maybe someone can answer, what's the purpose in creating the social venture in the first place?
I can start with that, Rob, and maybe others want to jump in. But basically, it has both a financial and an applied application. I mean, obviously, one of the challenges that we have seen in the last years is an overdependence from our organization on grants, which is typical for most NGOs, and that's becoming much more competitive these days. sure Derek could speak to that as well with his experience in the NGO sector. But I think the other thing is we saw an interesting opportunity to build on our own entrepreneurial skills, but also to very much draw on others that we don't have to create more opportunities for a broader impact on children, a positive impact that would derive from some of these business skills and open up new ways of working with, particularly with the general public, both in Canada and elsewhere. I'll stop there.
Okay, great. So definitely mission aligned, but definitely also diversifying funds. So now you need to think about, is it the best possible investment of your funds? I'm assuming that money has been set aside to, or will be set aside to launch this business, or fundraising will be done. I think with this group, I can almost set the social issue part aside. I think you're all very committed to the cause. That's why you're here, to the issues, to the children that you're trying to help. So maybe I would focus more on this as an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneurship instructor or coach, and look at things from that point of view. So first off, if you're going to start a for-profit business, it needs to make money. So it's important to feel confident that the people you have in place have the necessary skills and experience to succeed in the marketplace. Do you have this? What's your plan to get this? Do any of either your staff or your board, do you consider yourself to be entrepreneurs? Have you bootstrapped a for-profit business, you know, from the ground up?
Philip again. No, we haven't. We do not have those skills, and that's very much why we've been reaching out to some of our circle. We do have members on our board who have for-profit experience, and they've been very helpful in this regard. But that's partly where we're relying on organizations like Do Good for Nothing, who have some of that private sector experience, but also the partners who we would be engaging with as we're creating these business plans. And I think it's a really good question, Rob, because one of the things we realize going forward is that while some of the value propositions, like the property development one, for example, have an active business partner already involved, other ones don't. So, for example, creating the space in Victoria, and that we really, although we have some general business experience on our board, we probably need to find resource people who we can partner with to fully flesh out some of those ideas so that there's really a sound business model. And some allies and guidance, I think, going forward.
I think that's absolutely true. The land development is by far, I think, the most complicated one, but it sounds like you have the strongest business partner in place. I think it would be very difficult with any of these to rely on volunteers. I think you would need additional paid staff who might bring in a different skill set. And then thinking about how much funding do you have if you're going to launch a full space, or is it the accreditation and certification program? I think those are two very different budgets that you're looking at. Have you explored how much each of these different ventures would cost from the startup stage?
In terms of those latter two, no, we haven't. One of the opportunities that we're exploring right now with the space is that the City of Victoria actually came very close to funding or hosting a space like that about 2 years ago. And the agency that was in the lead at that time had to pull back because I think their executive director had some health issues. And so there could be an opportunity to go forward again with that plan that's already been developed, which included a business model at its core, and to engage with the city in that regard, and that's going to be one of our next steps. We don't have a core budget for this, so at the moment it's been very much based on pro bono time that the team have been putting in, and drawing on some of our internal administrative budget for the organization and capacity to support this, but we very much would need to find additional resources to launch these endeavors. Again, the property development one does come with a budget that already exists because there are financiers already behind this. there's interest, partly because the market is so competitive right now in the lower mainland area. And with the economic recession, a lot of those property developments are looking at losing money, and so this offers an opportunity for a bit of a win in that regard. But we do need to find resources, particularly for the other two initiatives.
Yeah, the other point that the word you used was there's interest. My question is there demand for your ventures? The reason that, say, 80% of new businesses fail within the first 5 years, there's just no demand. They have a great idea, but maybe it's applicable just to them. The questions I would ask around either the child-friendly space or the certification accreditation program, is there demand for these things? It's incredibly difficult to run a business, and the market can be pretty unforgiving. So you need to find out if there's market demand for the social venture you're creating. The social benefit, when you're competing in the for-profit market space, I mean, it only matters, so much. You still have to have a killer product that's better than all your competitors. And so, do you know who the competitors would be, or does it just sound like an exciting idea? You need to really find out if you'll be able to compete before you even do anything else, because you're going to need to raise money to start any of these businesses. And whether that comes from the board or an external partner, you need to have not just the willingness to take the risk, but the capital to invest and the time. When do you need to be cash flow positive in any of these business ideas? With nonprofits, when you were reliant on grant funding, I know that you might be hesitant to really truly innovate in different programs because the reporting is so skewed to having effective programs that if you take a chance, you take a risk on something and it doesn't work, you could be risking the funding for that. That's exactly what entrepreneurs do, is they go out and they take those risks. So this isn't just writing another grant application and not receiving it. There's going to be a significant investment of time and resources and potential new hires, and it's just a matter of having either the right plan in place or thinking through all of the implications that come with this. Feel free to jump in with any questions or comments, as I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I hope I'm on point. Please feel free to ask away and see if I can help with any questions you might have.
Yeah, well, maybe just I'll respond, Rob, and then I'll open up, because I muted everybody except for you. So if people want to speak, please let me know, and I'll take you off mute. I think Simon, it was your line that was giving us the feedback, but I do have everyone else muted right now. Rob, these are all really great questions and good critical feedback, and yeah, we have been mulling these over. We aren't averse to risk. You do have to take risks also working in the NGO sector, and we're familiar with those risks. Our size has ebbed and flowed over the years, dependent on the context in which we're working, but we also realize this is a very different risk environment that we're moving into with this social enterprise, and that's why we're moving fairly cautiously before we make a final decision. In terms of the need, I think that's an excellent question, and what we're sensing with the Victoria Centre is there is a need, and in fact the fact that the city already went forward in planning for a centre like this and then pulled away at the last minute, not because of the lack of need, but because of the partner in that process, is perhaps an opportunity for us to position ourselves as a partner that could take that on. We don't want to be competing with all the other children's centres in the city, and so part of our aim there is probably to partner with an organization that's already successful, to which we could bring added value and maybe use that as a way of harvesting some of the other opportunities that exist in the city, both through our networks and theirs. I think of the three propositions, Suzanne Niebert, I don't know if you're on the call, but you should speak to this as well. But of the three, probably the accreditation, social innovation accreditation is probably the least fleshed out in terms of a need and how we would be competing with others. And I think that's something that certainly needs a lot more exploration and thought. But I really I welcome others' input and contributions, because a number of the people that are on the call today were at the discussions last weekend, and others have their own personal experience, like Derek and others who have started their own social enterprises.
So until I see someone else's mic turn green, there's one question I had about the hub idea. How do you make money? What are you charging for, and who are you charging? Who's your customer?
I think the customer would be both the families coming to the hub, because it's already with the idea of the partnership with an agency, it would based on an existing business model of families providing a fee for, or paying a fee for service to have their children at the hub, either during parts of the day or to participate in specific activities that would be taking place there. And we might also use it as a venue for some of our training and other for-profit activities that we do at the moment. One of the arms of IICRD that's quite active right now is a for-profit professional training part of our work, which we offer to both primarily to professionals working with children and families, but also to youth leaders, to Aboriginal organizations, and to other agencies working with children and youth. Michelle, do you want to speak to that?
Lena would be better to speak at. I think that part of where the revenue would come from would really depend on the demand, and so I think that needs to be looked at a little bit deeper in terms of where the demand is and what niche it would fill exactly, and how that would be organized, and then that then could, would be based on that. And I'm not sure that we're there yet.
Right. So one of the other things that's been expressed, I mean, I know you said it's taken a couple years to get to this point, and the answers to some of my questions are, we still need to look into this. From an entrepreneurial point of view, people just tend to pick things, run with them, explore them, because the entrepreneurs are the ones who own the business. And so here my question is, who would own the social enterprise? And I'm not talking in the legal sense, but the sense of ownership. Who is going to be the entrepreneur, the intrapreneur within your organization to really champion this venture and be prepared to put in all the necessary time to get a new business off the ground? It's great to have, and this is one of the issues I've run into with other nonprofits, when a board is very supportive of the idea, but they're a more governance board, and they're not necessarily a working board, and definitely not I'm going to quit everything and put 12, 18 hours a day into launching a new business. And that's often what it takes. So moving cautiously is it sounds like nonprofit thinking, and when I think about entrepreneurs and those successful ones, it's the risk-taking, moving, investing. This is mine. I have a sense of ownership around it, and I will do anything to turn this into a reality. Not to put you off on the idea of social enterprise, but that some of the ones you've proposed are a little outside of what you do on a daily basis. And so, I mean, I think you really need to have someone champion each of those three ideas and say, I'm going to make this happen. And how you find that person, whether that's someone you already have internal, or if it's someone you're going to bring on, whether it's a partner or paid staff, to really want to take this and run with it and be able to act like an entrepreneur. It's a challenge, no doubt. I remember years. I was in the candy business. I used to sell lollipops and candy sticks, and anyway, from the janitor to the CEO, you're making sales calls, and I'm driving a forklift. To get a business off the ground without a huge staff, you take on a lot of different roles. There are really no job descriptions anymore, and you're watching all of your profit margins. It can be a really exciting time when it's your business. If it's not yours and you're concerned that something falls outside of your job description, you have to work a couple extra hours here and there and you're not happy about it, that type of entrepreneurship, I don't know if it can work. You really have to throw yourself into these kind of startups. So no matter which of the options you pursue, I would strongly encourage you to find a champion, someone who's going to really want to take this on, full steam with the board support, of course.
Thanks, Rob. These are really important questions. I've been madly writing down the questions as you've been speaking. You mentioned at the outset that you had your own personal story of entrepreneurship that you thought you might want to share. Was it the lollipop story? I didn't know that about you. No. Was there a different one?
No, it's a different one. Currently, right now, in addition to being a professor, in addition to completing my doctorate, which are both full-time jobs, I'm also starting a social enterprise. I'm a co-founder. We're called Content for Good. I don't know if anyone has met Aaron Skillen in Victoria, but we've started a video game company, basically, and we hope to teach social entrepreneurship through video games. So right now, the deal isn't signed yet, but I think I can name drop. Right now we're working with Junior Achievement to get our game into schools across the country. And it's a business simulation that would teach kids about the impact of business. So they're going to start their own skateboard business, skateboard video games. So they'll get to design boards and sell boards, and they'll have to understand the social, the environmental, and the economic impact of all their business decisions as they play this business simulation. So that's been a challenge because I already have 2 full-time jobs, and starting up this enterprise was really about finding the right co-founders. So there's 4 of us, and we all work and full-time, and are trying to launch this company, including the game designer and the tech people. I know nothing about the tech side of this. I'm all about the entrepreneurship education side and the impact side. And so one of the things we're doing is we want to have a real impact. In addition to all the education that goes on with the kids in the classroom, we want their decisions in the game to have an impact in the real world. So should they make the right choices about which materials they're going to use in a board, or how much they're going to pay workers in their factories, and understand the implications of all that, we would like those decisions when kids do well in the game. Oh, are you guys still there? Yeah.
Yeah, we're here.
Sorry, my screen went black.
Go ahead.
So what I think we have with our game is an innovative platform for fundraising for nonprofits. I would love to see kids' success in the game trigger a donation to a nonprofit chosen skateboarding, because we think kids in that age group in Canada and the U.S., say kids aged 11 to 14, can really relate with skateboarding, or it's something fun and they understand. So we're hoping that success in the game could lead to, say, our partnership with a nonprofit, with a charity. So success in the game might trigger a donation by Rogers or TELUS or Van City or whoever it is to a nonprofit, so that everyone kind of gets, you create awareness of the cause. There's a little bit of marketing for the company involved, and so we're really trying to explore how to create a for-profit video game company which has a social entrepreneurship education at its core, and then mix in real-world impact throughout the gameplay. So that's my third full-time job. And as an entrepreneur, it's exciting, it's stressful. I'm wearing a lot of different hats. Just before this meeting, I was on a call with a woman in Montreal who runs an organization called Skateboards for Hope, and they give away boards to in Uganda and in Cuba and in the north of Canada with communities in the north, and trying to find a way for us to work together so that as kids play our game, we're able to funnel money towards her charity. And so that was when you started talking about Child Thrive, and this video game company is going to be targeting children, well, tweens really. I was like, oh, maybe there's a way, for all of us to work together, for us to get money towards IICRD as well. So that's what was going on in my head as you were explaining exactly what you do, and then the call I just had this morning. So I know the challenges of running multiple businesses, multiple organizations, wearing all these different hats, and look, at times it's exhausting. But other times it's exhilarating, and it's a lot of fun. If you don't love being an entrepreneur, if you don't love the excitement of being, like, every victory as an entrepreneur is yours, but every defeat is also yours as well. You can surround yourself with the best team, but everyone has that sense of ownership where we believe that, that we're doing this. There's a reason we're doing this. We're doing this. Right now, it's not for the money, although that would be nice if there was some in a little while. But we're working at this, and just I don't know. You get a rush from starting a business, from launching, from seeing it grow, and I hope there's someone on your board or your staff, or you find someone who wants to do this with your organizations as well, or your ideas.
Thanks so much, Rob. That's really important to hear your personal experience and the sort of the reality of exhaustion coupled with the exhilaration of actually launching a business out into the world. So I appreciate your comments, and thanks so much, Philip, for stepping in to answer questions as they came up. I wonder if we could spend the last 15 minutes or so just in a conversation. A number of you have been listening quietly, but perhaps there's more to be said at this point. If there are further questions for Rob, or just sort of further comments that would build on the conversation so far, why don't we go ahead and move in that direction now? And I suppose Philip can unmute people as needed.
Thanks, Catherine. I'll try unmuting everybody and see what happens there.
Okay. Perhaps Derek, I don't know if Derek, if you're still on the...
Muted. Unmuted.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think I'm being muted and unmuted. I'm doing it to myself.
Yes, I'm here.
I'm not sure. Welcome, Derek. Do you...
Sorry, Catherine.
Yeah, no worries. Derek, based on your experience and what you've heard today, is there anything more that you would add to this sort of line of conversation?
I think that all of the kind of kind of harsh reality of going into a business is good for us all to hear. I think we all know it, and I think that hopefully it doesn't temper our enthusiasm. It just makes us aware of the fact that, yeah, it's a hard thing to do. I moved, like Philip said earlier, into more of a hybrid model because some people in my work really are reluctant to pay me into my for-profit company. They'll pay me the same rate when it's going through a nonprofit versus if it's going through a profit, and that's both in Canada and in the U.S. There seems to be among the mindset of people who are in the nonprofit sector and in the social service sector that for-profit companies somehow are greedier or run differently or have a different ethos than nonprofits, and I seem to be actually maybe 5 times a year with my clients, remind them that I'm the same guy. I'm the same guy that runs the for-profit company, and there's reasons I do that, and there's reasons why I'm the co-founder of 2 nonprofits. There's reasons I do that, and I don't change my philosophy when I move from one to the other. I simply respond to the market by moving from one to the other. There's just some things that my for-profit company can't do, and some opportunities that it isn't that are not available to me, and of course many that aren't available to the nonprofit as a for-profit company. So you kind of go where the market allows you to go. The folks listening might be interested that about 6 years ago, I put way too much time into this, but I had an investor who was willing to build a hotel, a social good hotel. And he was a man of wealth, and we were very connected to Hilton hotels. It wasn't a dream. It was really all the right people were in place. And I'd say the only wrong person on the bus was me, because I didn't have the means and the financial backing to make $0 while we did all this planning for our other enterprises. And everybody was in it for the good, and they were sure wanting to support me and my work. And the for-profit margin discussions, even though I'm fairly comfortable in that arena, certainly pushed my buttons often. And finally, we decided to go our separate ways. I do think there are some socially good hotels now, if you look on the web in the States. But that was an interesting exploration for me, and truly, it was my fault. I was the one who was didn't have the capacity to move as far as I needed to go to make that work.
Well, Derek, I think those are great words. I would caution you to say it's not your fault. It's really a matter of fit and finding either the right investors who align with your values. We shouldn't. One of the great things about being an entrepreneur, until you go public and you have an IPO on the stock exchange, is decisions about how you spend your money are entirely up to the owner of the company. So if you want to have social impact as the owner of a business, you can. For-profit, for me, is an accounting term, and there's nothing wrong with profit. It's just a matter of what you choose to do with that profit. So whether you choose to buy yourself a nicer car, a bigger condo, fancy TVs, or to choose you use that money to reinvest into social programs, or you're willing to pay a higher cost of goods sold because your supply chain is sustainable, or the employees you're hiring come from disadvantaged backgrounds and you're paying them more than the minimum you can. As an entrepreneur, those are all your choices that you get to make. And I would never tell anyone it's their fault because a deal didn't work out, because either partners don't see eye to eye. It's one of the things I love about it is that you get to choose who you work with. And it's really important that everyone is on the same page. So, I mean, I think it's great that you walked away if things really weren't working out. Many people would feel the pressure to either, you know, stay down one path, or, you know, the money is on the table, what do you do? You know, maybe that's more of a philosophical question that we ask ourselves, is like, if that investor with the checkbook is there, but they're asking us for something that we're not prepared to give, but, you know, they're ready to sign that check, do we take it anyway? How much of your philosophy, how much of your value system are you willing to, you know, put aside? And hopefully, if people are committed to social enterprise, then that social impact is something you're not willing to skimp out on.
Great comments, Rob, in terms of ensuring that we're aligning with values, and you've asked a number of provocative questions and really helpful in guiding our thinking, I think, as we move forward, not to mention sharing your personal experiences here. So I'd like to thank you very much for that. It is 12:55 now, or 56, so we have about 4 minutes before we wrap up. I did want to mention that we'll be doing this again next week, same time, same place. Next week's guest is Kimberly Buska, who's the program manager with Enterprising Nonprofits. And so she'll be joining us on the webinar next week. We'll encourage people to log in just a little before noon again, and we'll go from noon to 1. So that's about it from my side. I wonder if there are any closing comments, either from audience members, from Philip, from Rob, anyone wanting to say a few last words, recognizing that we'll be wrapping it up in about 4 minutes here. It looks like Derek will be in Alaska next week, but we'll be thinking of us. Thanks, Derek, and we'll record it again next week. So anything that's missed will be available to people in the IICRD network.
Great. And Catherine, just on my part, Rob, I really wanted to thank you. Yeah, I think those were wonderful questions, some of which we're already asking ourselves, and some of which were very helpful today because they raise new considerations, but certainly your input's been very helpful. And actually, it would be interesting to learn more about your idea. It certainly overlaps with some existing initiatives that we're leading with kids using technology in different ways for learning, but not thinking about it quite along those lines. And we actually have connections with a number of youth-led skateboard initiatives in Canada and around the world. And yeah, really, I love the idea. It's exciting. So hope we have a chance to connect on that too.
Yeah, I'll connect with you offline, or well, still online, but off of GoToMeeting.
Sounds great. If you have a chance, Google Skatistan. It was an initiative that was started in Kabul to help war-affected children in Afghanistan using skateboard as a means.
Yeah, we know them. Yeah,
okay.
We know them.
They're working in other countries. But yeah, no, sounds good. Let's connect. Our son is a very keen skateboarder also, so it's kind of near and dear to our heart.
I think one of the things that I can offer right now, at least an opportunity, one of the courses I teach here is the capstone course in our BCom program. Our business students have to write business plans. Most of them choose their own idea. I have a number of students who pretty much don't have an idea and are looking for an entrepreneur or an organization who has a new business idea. You have 3 of them. But don't have the time or resources to develop an investor-ready business plan. That's their assignment. This course starts in 3 weeks. If you're interested, we can present the 3 business ideas that you're considering to my students and see if anyone is interested in working on this over July and August. And at the end of August, you would have a full investor-ready business plan if they do their job right. That's kind of on me to teach them, but that's their big deliverable. So I can send you more information on that if you're looking for someone to write, you know, a 20, 50-page business plan on any of these 3 ideas for free.
Yeah, That sounds like a wonderful offer. Yeah, we'd love to take you up on that. Let's follow up on that, Rob.
Great.
Well, that's certainly a productive connection there. Thanks so much, Rob, for bringing that point in as well. I think I'll wrap things up now. What I'll do between Rob and Philip, perhaps I'll send an email introduction to the two of you off this webinar series. And I'll just thank you once again, Rob, for your time this afternoon and for joining us and supporting us as we're looking to move these ideas forward. And to everyone in the audience, especially those of you, Philip, and others who were able to shed some light on the directions we're heading in, thanks so much for joining us today. And I look forward to the conversation next week.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very
Goodbye.
much.
Thanks.
Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.